Hello, boys and girls. So I'm not in today, but I want to give you a mini lesson on how to write a proper introduction and a proper conclusion. We've done this before. Just know that when you write an introduction, it has to have these three different parts. So when you write an introduction, you need to start with the hook, which is a question or an imagine line. Imagine is like creating a scene so that your reader can visualize yourself and what you're talking about. You have to have one or two sentences giving a little bit of background about the story. This should include the title, the author, the main character, and potentially what's the problem in the story. And the last part of your intro is right here is your thesis statement. Remember that you get your thesis statement from your writing prompt, okay? Your thesis statement is the heart of your story, and it's what your whole essay is about. Now, here's an example of an introduction that I wrote about the Three Little Pigs, the true story about the Three Little Pigs, which we watched the video in class. So it says, have you ever been in a situation where people think something about you and that something is wrong? Notice, that's a question that my reader can relate to because most people have been in a situation like that, right? So make your question relatable. Don't just say, did you know that people can write with different points of view? No, no, no. If you write something like that, it's boring and you will get a zero. Now I have my imagine line. Imagine is where you're giving a situation so that your reader can immerse himself into that situation and relate to you, right? So my imagine line, which is also part of my hook, says imagine being judged by people and having them think you're a horrible person when in reality you know that they are wrong and you're actually a decent human. So that purple, all of that's my hook. Then I'm giving a little bit of background about the story, and I made that orange. I said, in the true story of the Three Little Pigs by John Cheska, notice how I mentioned the title and the author. The big bad wolf is able to tell the world his version of the true story of the story. He lets everyone know that he's actually not the bad guy. That's what the story's about, right? His problem is that the world thinks he's a bad guy. So notice how I mentioned the title, I mentioned the author, and I mentioned the main character and the problem. Okay. And then I write my thesis statement. My whole essay is about me saying that the narrator's point of view influences the events in the story, right? So my thesis is the narrator's point of view influences the events in the story and how the events are described. Then I had my conclusion paragraph. The conclusion's pretty easy. In your conclusion, you're going to restate your thesis. Start it with a transition. If you don't know what transition to use, you can always start with in conclusion, right? It's the easiest thing. And then restate your thesis, but you can copy and paste it, but you need to change it a little bit. It can't be the exact thesis you have in your intro, okay? So I wrote in mine, in conclusion, the true story of the Three Little Pigs shows that a narrator's point of view can greatly affect and influence the way a story is told. Then after that, I'm restating the main points of my essay. Think about the topic sentences of your body paragraphs, right? So my main points in my essay was that it's hard not to like the wolf in the story when he tells it himself. All you have to do is read the original to get a different picture of what's happened. And then I have my last part, which is my blue, is where you have a final thought for your reader. So my final thought is kind of like thinking of a theme or a lesson that you give your reader, right? Mine is that it's important to know that there are always two sides of every story, right? Even when you hear something, there's two sides. So notice how simple my conclusion is. I'm posting this Google Doc um, just so that you have it in Google Classroom. So you have example of an intro, example of a conclusion. You're going to put this in the Google Doc. Put the intro on top of body one, put the conclusion underneath your body four. You need to finish all of it. Remember that tomorrow your narrative is due, your homework. And for social studies, you need to finish the Google form about the Second Continental Congress. Okay? I'll see you guys tomorrow and take care. Bye.